igama lami nguKopano Ratele, and this is a important lena. Ngisebenza ku-UNISA, University of South Africa, but nalana ku Medical Research Council. Wege Neziswa now at the back came to Langa a few months back, and we met Unomta Dilema, and we started to have conversations. Actually, we met Wanele Kala. We met Wanele, and Uzinzile introduced us to Anele. Anele took us to Nomta Dilema, and I was quite impressed. But we came, and I will tell you shortly. I have my clan, Itlen Yamla. I have my group, 4 PhD students, 4 doctoral students. I have a former PhD student who's a doctor at UCT also, who came to be with us, Umandisa. And I have a postdoc from Ghana, so Xhosa is not his language, so he needs help as well with the English. So my idea was this: we have been having these dialogues across the country, but mostly in Cape Town. And we have them at universities mostly, and elsewhere. It struck me that we are not having the conversations between the university and communities around, and specifically Langa and Gugulethu and Khayelitsha, for historical reasons, by the way, right? These are important reasons. Then you might like this. There's a whole history to this. So we thought, in the language of the United Nations, I'm going to bring a technical team, my technical. These PhD students are my technical team. We're a technical team. So what can we do? What can we do? So I run something called the Research Unit on Men and Masculinities. I run another one called the African Psychologies program. So 2 programs. One is on psychology, one is on men and masculinity. So we said we're going to start after a discussions no Anele. And Anele had an amazing example he didn't tell you about. He says, you know, he's always looked at young men who come and now they are men with colorful socks, happy socks. They're expensive, those socks. Some of them are really expensive. And these young men might be unemployed, some of them. It's because, well, this is my reasoning. It's because we live in a society that tells you that one of the markers of being a successful man is to dress expensive clothes. It's a terrible, terrible thing. You can't get around it. The television sets tell you this, that to be successful as a man, you have to dress expensive clothes. Not just nice clothes, not comfortable clothes. It has to be a label. It has to be manhood in such a society. Especially, so Ungosi will talk about this. So young men, for me, and we write it here, there's rituals, kwaXhosa. Young men come and they become men. They're taught good values, but they come in a society that doesn't recognize those values. It's a multicultural society, but some values clash with those values because you can be a successful cultural subject, but you're not a successful economic subject. And we have to talk about this. That's a key thing. So what do we do then in that context? So I have a few things I'm going to say so to lay the ground. And all of it is here because, and what we say is this, is to be a man is not only the duty of men. Actually, mothers are very involved too in raising men. Mothers are central, especially where fathers have just checked out, have just left for whatever reasons. And we know in this country, we are told, actually we're not told, I know this, 67% of children are raised by mothers only, right? Without fathers. And the majority of those are black young men. It's a terrible state of affairs. But there's a history to this thing, right? La Gulanga pass office, it starts from there. Men were taken from their families, and then they left a hole at home, and some of them never came back because they have to deal with all of this. So, first of all, then, there's this conflict there's a history to this manhood, and that the men, you can't talk about manhood only by focusing, by status amateur. Women are invested in the kinds of men we become. They raise boys. Even if you're a black man, you live with white people somewhere, white people also actually shape the kind of man you become, because you have to, if you don't have the means, you have to go work for white people, either as a gardener or as a factory worker or as a manager, and we have to include that. But then lastly, there are different views about manhood. There are men cultural views, there are feminist views, there are black consciousness views, there are Pan-Africanist views, there are ANC views about masculinity, there are we know that KwaZulu people are killing each other. Okay, so here are three things then to set the context for me. I like technology a lot. I didn't know that I like technology because I'm what's called a late adopter. I adopt technology late. But I've been watching a lot of self-driving, technology about self-driving cars. Self-driving cars are a big thing, are a huge thing. We are told that by 2030, that's barely 12 years from now, that some countries in the world will have self-driving cars all over, right? Now, I'm telling you this because it's about planning. Planning. If you live in a world where you don't realize that the world is moving so fast, you don't even have a car, the car that you drive yourself, but they're telling you about you're going to have self-driving cars, you don't have the skills to do that, and you're a man who's supposed to support your family, where does that leave you? Where does that leave you? And so what I'm talking about is not self-driving cars, it's about planning for the future, thinking about the future. We are talking about the future, Langa. In my head, this is an important one. It means everything. Second thing, when you give birth to a child, you bring a child into the world, Langa, the roads. I saw that there's a road street here in Langa. I don't know why people in Langa are doing this, but roads. What are roads? You bring up a child, and then this child is a boy. Any parent has this. You have hopes, you have worries. They might get hurt. They might die. They might not have a job. They might drop out of school. But you also have ambitions. So what hopes do you have for young men in Lang today? What hopes do we have? If I meet young men at the corner, I just drove past in the morning. What hope do they have? What hope do we have for them in today's world? If we are preparing boys and young men for a purposeful and successful manhood, if it's about fundisa and we take them to Luka, but also to school, to Langa High, are we doing a good job? I just told you about self-driving cars. Does Langa High prepare young men about a future where they have self-driving cars? Just to have a car, because that car they are telling us, or is this future, this is my point, is this future bypassing Langa again? Do you see my problem right there? I mean, it's bypassing a lot of black men in the world today. This future just bypasses us when we have a great university just 5 kilometers away from here. So, thinking about the young, of course, this also applies to young women, right? But today's subject is mostly masculinity. Are we doing a good job? And here's my last thing, and you might not. I learned this from a Scottish policeman, actually, a few years back. I mean, it's because the way he said it, although I know it. If you walk out of here, and a young man is beating up on a young woman, or a murder happens, the pathways for that murder did not happen this morning. They happened 15 years ago. What am I talking about? And he was showing this, and repeatedly you see this, and I've seen some people who grasp this notion about what we do. So if you have a child today, and you're not doing what you need to do as a parent, you are endangering women 15 years down the line. That's what we mean. The murder that happens today, took place, the seeds took place 15, 20 years ago. So the dialogue today is just the first. We have to do this repeatedly, again and again, to say, what do we want this young man, this boy, to grow up to be? And my student, Sipho Dlamini, is their PhD. We were talking about this the other day. That we know that we teach girls to be parents. And it's such a simple thing, it's such an obvious thing that you miss it. We teach girls to be parents, but we don't teach boys to be parents. We refuse boys to play with dolls because boys don't. And to give children, girls dolls, you are teaching them how to be parents. You are teaching them a lesson for later. This is how you nurture others. But boys, we don't. We say, what are you doing, Lana? You are super wena. Do you see what the problem is then? 15 years down the line, you're surprised why fathers, us as fathers, are not nurturing our young ones. Because we were not taught this. So today, Chief Ngoskalata telling us about some wonderful things that he's already told me about responsibility, about training and taking. And by the way, Chief, I must say this, although I am so proud and I'm so happy, I didn't know how many people are going to be. This is not, although people will mention this is not about Ulwaluko, right? It is not about Ulwaluko, it's about manhood generally. And manhood involves more than just cultural values. It involves, as I said, economic values, or at least an economic life. It involves relationships with women. Of course, they're both cultural but also economic. It involves education. It involves women's role in raising boys. So thank you for coming. Hey, I'm amazed. I didn't know how it's going to turn out. The intergenerational dialogue starts here. Goes.